we've uncovered the best spots for your Savannah Way road trip, including Kobold Gorge and Burketown.
Welcome to Australia's best-kept secret.
But up next, the healing springs of Talarun. That's all coming up on My Way. Welcome back to My Way, our special on the Savannah Way. We continue along the journey west to a place formed over millions of years, deep in the heart of Queensland's Gulf Savannah, the Talarun Hot Springs. Bubbling with scorching hot water from unknown depths and teeming with plant and animal life. These springs are a natural wonder in vivid, earthy colours.
The earth is our mother, the water is our blood. One must look after our heartbeat. And that's basically looking after country and looking after our waterways. My name is JR from the Yulman people, and this is our way. Myself, I was born in Cairns. I grew up around Cairns and Coranda. My dad was taken from here when he was 8 and his brother was 6. It is a sad part of our history. A lot of people don't like talking about it. I grew up in a time when it was just starting to change a little bit. I was blessed growing up with a lot of the old fellas around, even my older cousins. The knowledge that they possessed, they carried. And every opportunity, they always took the opportunity because they knew you were interested. They always took that opportunity to sitting down and talking about country. You look here. Camilo. That's where they sharpened the stone axes. See there? It was only in later years that, in the 80s, that I ended up getting a job with Talarun as a stockman. It was a hard life. You work long hours. To be able to do the job like that all day, every day, for a long, long period of time, you have to love the country and have the passion to stay in the country to do it, the passion in the job to do it. If I was to go back again, I would not change a thing. I will definitely do it again. I do feel the effects of it now, but with the springs, there's the healing part of it all. And see, with the water being ancient and all your minerals, it's good for your skin, your aches and pains, but combined with the leaves from the melaleuca and the paper bark, the oil is extracted out of it. It's opening up the airways. The black tea tree, the oil extracted out of it, once it's in the hot water, is good for your aches and pains. So this is our healing water. In the 80s, the property owner here actually first started tourism, showing people the hot springs themselves. And he tried to coax me into being a tour guide then. But I said, basically, I came out here to chase cattle, not tourists. But as I said, here I am, 40 years later. I came back because I got sick, thyroids. The radiation knocked me about a fair bit. I'd say it's probably taken me 12 months or more to recover from that process itself. I wanted to come back to country to heal, and then an opportunity came up for me to help with the tours. So I'm letting them know that I'm bringing people into the springs themselves, letting them identifying who I am. So letting them know. It's a female story place, a birthing place for those people. There is a story for them. I can't tell that story itself, but men did use it. They may have not used the springs itself, but certainly the runoff, especially if they had wounds. They had battles with neighbouring people, tribes and things like that. They would come and soak in the hot waters. And there are other medicines also around here. And you've got your bush food, you've got your river system right here beside us, which, your supplies of fish and things like that. So culturally significant to the females, but also very, very significant to human people as a whole. Because what this is for us, as human people, this is our foundation. From this foundation, things can grow. And what we hope to do here is we hope to bring our younger generation back here. I really want the people to see the country through my eyes. And if they can see it through my eyes, they then actually connect to country. And once they connect to country, they feel the emotions, they feel the peace, they feel the quietness, they feel the country. And that's one comment that I always get about this area, is a lot of people say, when they feel here, when they're staying here, they just feel at peace, which is great, because everybody should feel at peace. Everybody should feel at peace and belonging to somewhere. Yeah, basically, Talarun Hot Springs is unique. It's the only one in Australia. So if you're feeling down, come and have a soak in our pool. It will take the weights off your shoulder, and it'll make you feel at peace within yourself.
If JR's convince you to take a dip into the healing waters of Talarun Hot Springs, and let's face it, who wouldn't want to, make sure you include a visit on your trip along the Savannah Way. Don't go anywhere, because we have a story of discovery you won't want to miss, about one of Australia's most jaw-dropping locations.
This is where our amazing journey started, and it just blew us away.
That's up next on this Savannah Way special of My Way. Welcome back to our My Way special. Continuing on a journey along the Savannah Way, about 600 kilometres from Cairns, you'll find yourself at Kobold Gorge, a remote and untouched wonder that until recently remained entirely hidden from view.
I think in the gorge itself, just being on the water, just listening to the water dripping, seeing a croc slide in the water, birds perched up in the crevices, and seeing the different colours and formations on the walls which depict the stream flows of the old basin. They're the things that really impact me.
In the very heart of the Gulf Savannah, hidden in the sandstone escarpment on the boundary of a cattle property, sits one of Australia's most recently discovered but ancient beauties.
Hi, I'm Simon Terry. Welcome to Australia's best kept secret. Our family originated in the southern part of the Shire down towards Richmond, Newton, and we moved up here in the early 60s. Robin Hood, as it was called then, spans 500 square miles in area. So it's a big backyard. We had 7 kids in the family, 2 girls, 5 boys. I'm the youngest of the mob, and being constantly out in the bush was always the best part of growing up here. It was just the freedom, and every day there was something that you just discovered. And I have great recollections as a child, seeing some of the sandstone and having these thoughts of, I wonder what's in there. It never really transpired until the early 90s that we'd got the chance to start exploring it on the ground. It came about with a couple of friends of mine visiting in the early 90s, and they wanted to camp somewhere on the river, and we thought we'd explore some of the sandstone whilst they were visiting, and we camped down here on the river and ventured up this little creek called Cobalt Creek. We could only go as far as this bank just here by foot, and then we decided we'd have to get a tinny and explore it on the water, and this is where our amazing journey started, following this creek along up into the far reaches of the gorge, and it just blew us away. Oh, we were totally shocked at the fact that there was this beautiful gorge in our backyard we hadn't discovered. It's just amazing. I still remember it quite vividly, almost touching each side of the walls and thinking, how far does this go? We spent another couple of days exploring around the edge of the gorge. Soon after that, invited family along. We explored it even further. It was, I can remember, a week of just hiking around the gorge, looking around every nook and cranny. In the late 80s, we met. My wife's a local girl as well, off property, and had a lot of things in common, and buried ourselves in building this business, and were able to also rear 3 beautiful children, and it's just been an amazing roller coaster ride. Our first tour we did up the gorge was pretty basic, I guess, but we had 4-wheel-drive bus and had a small tinny, and I do recall the guest had an amazing experience, firstly being the first up the gorge as a paying guest, and the tours evolved from there. So these days we have a selection of 3 different types of tours into Cobalt, including paddleboard tours up the gorge as well, helicopter flights and so on. As time went on, we developed boardwalks and also just recently Australia's first glass bridge. It's mind-blowing just seeing the expressions on people's faces.
We're 17 metres above the water.
When they first walk across that bridge and look down.
Beautiful, I think it's amazing. Very cool.
Going up the gorge in the boat and looking forward to that next turn around the corner and just getting immersed in the whole product. It's just, they come away, I'm sure, changed because of it.
Super cool. So glad I've done it.
I guess it makes us get out of bed and want to do more. We have enormous pride in what we've built, and we always strive to keep our infrastructure maintained, and it is a bit of a struggle in the elements out here with the lack of qualified trade staff. But we're immensely proud of what we've built, and the feedback we get from our guests is constantly rewarding also.
Showing us your backyard.
Hey, no worries, mate. Yeah, pleasure. Makes us so insignificant. We're just a speck on the landscape when it comes to how it all evolved. We just got to remind ourselves that in this small amount of time that we're here to enjoy it and also look after it. I always yearn to explore more of the sandstone region. There's a lot there to be discovered yet. You need a couple of lifetimes to explore it all. What are we doing next, guy? You got to put it out there.
To be part of whatever Simon and his family decide to do next, make sure you don't miss Kobold Gorge on your Savannah Way journey. Still to come, we head into the Gulf region to our last stop along Queensland's Savannah Way at Burketown, a remote township with a never-ending landscape, clear starry skies and great characters.
Mate, look at me, I'm 70 years old. Looks good, eh? That's what bush tucker does for you.
That's all coming up on My Way. Welcome back to this very special My Way. Now nearly 900 clicks from Cairns along the Savannah Way. You'll find Burketown and our last stop on this adventure. It's a town where connection to culture and country is vital to the heart of this community. And there is no better example of that than the story of local tour guide, Lurik.
Everyone that leaves a small community, they always get this sense of yearning to return home eventually, and that's what I got. My name's Lurik, this is My Way, welcome to my country. If you come up to Burketown, you'll find me on a tour if you do one with us. It's really quite a remarkable place. There's quite a lot to see and do. We have about 14 different areas up here, so that's rocky escarpment areas to grassy plains to bare salt pans. Yeah, it makes it really challenging when you're travelling through this country on the back roads, but with a guide, you wouldn't have any trouble at all. I'm a Gurrowa man, and I was born in Mount Isa, and I've grown up in Burketown and in Mount Isa, so I've always been between the two. So my grandparents were from up here and my father as well. Went from high school straight into the mining industry. Mount Isa is a pretty big mining town, so I spent about 8 years of my life working down there, so doing 12-hour shifts. After 8 years of that, it's a bit hard on the body and stuff, so I pretty much swapped the pay packet for a lifestyle. when I felt like I needed home the most, that's when I returned back, and just being out in country, being able to hunt and fish made me feel better inside. There we go. And then started my career off in Burketown as a ranger, nice little barra. After 5 years of that and then helping out with tourism, I eventually moved into the tourism role full time now. So Burketown's indigenous name is called Mungabai, means small island.
Yaggly Tours, a joint venture between the Gungalita and Garawa people. Community elder Murrundu was instrumental in the early days.
Tourism's, very low impact and good gains and long-term and sustainable, so that's why it suits our mob. It's the first one in the Gulf by Indigenous people, even though they're 80% of the population. So we're not only working hard for ourselves, the Gungalita and Garawa people, or the community of Mungabai, Burketown and Doomadgee, but for the wider region. Because if we succeed here, it'll have a trickle-on effect and inspire others.
And inspiring it is. Life is a far cry away from the hustle and bustle of mainstream Australia. You won't find Coles or Woolies up here.
Over 50% of my diet and few of the mob in town would be traditional. So for this week, for instance, I've eaten a bit of dugong, bit of sea turtle, bit of barramundi, turkey, wallaby, kangaroo. So probably 4 of the last 6 days I've been eating bush tucker. Mate, look at me, I'm 70 years old. Looks good, eh? That's what bush tucker does for you.
This is a hot water bore, so the water that's coming out of there is about 75 degrees. If we go out hunting, we'll get like 8 bush turkey or whatnot. We'll just come back and set them on top there, and the feathers just fall off them. We run about 5 different tours. So we do a 4-wheel drive tag-along tours that visits everything in Burketown and around Burketown. So a few places that you cannot go unless you do a tour with us. So our next stop's Woods Lake. That's where the Indigenous community used to stay and live. So the last people that probably lived out there was about 40, 50 years ago. A lot of the people used to camp along here on that side and this side. Certain families would have their own areas. So my grandparents used to live probably about 200 metres up that way. We run a sunset tour on our boat. We're currently on the Albert River. So this river was named after Prince Albert. Quite magical because we're so flat up here. We get 360-degree views of the whole area, so you see the different colours in the sky. We also run a stargazing tour, so we run that on our salt pans. One thing about these tours, you never get sick of coming out here and watching the sunset. You've got no town light pollution at all, so the only other light pollution out there is the moon itself. So
like a very big night up on the moon there.
On a night when you can't see the moon, you can see pretty much every star in the sky. We get cut off every year. Just how much rain depends for how long. So on average, it's around 3 weeks. We're always moving forward. Coming up, we're going to be first Indigenous company to own their own hot air balloon. So it's pretty groundbreaking stuff. Probably the most satisfying thing of seeing the reactions on people's faces when they see special places and they go away with the kind of they've been changed a little bit from our tours. I've still got a lot to learn and I'm always learning of people and try to better my culture. So driving through town, no one really noticed the big green Bunnings, I guess. So this is the next best thing out here. So this is sandpaper fig tree. Like you have to come up and experience Burketown and the culture for yourself. And when people leave here, they always make plans to come back.
Burketown and Yaggly Tours is a must-stop location along the Savannah Way. So make sure you head to their website and book your spot with Lurik and discover this spectacular region for yourself. Or if you want any more information on any of these tours, you can head to tropicalnorthqueensland.org.au or queensland.com.